Whether you're just starting out or if you've been editing videos for a while, these 6 tips are guaranteed to help you on your video editing journey. So if you want to start improving your video edits today, grab a pen and paper and let's jump right in. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be showing you these tips and tricks on the InVideo editor because it's free and it's super easy to use if you have no experience. But you can follow along on whatever video editing software you prefer to use. And if you do want to use InVideo, just head over to InVideo.io. Alright, so the first and most basic tip is this. Before you even start your edit, be sure to watch all of your footage. Watch every second, even the footage that you think you're not going to end up using, because you might find something really good in there. And the other reason we do this is just to get a feel for all of our footage before we start putting it together. What I like to do during this step is when I find a part of a clip that I really like, just make a note of the time code, either write it on a sticky note or type it into a doc, and then make a little note about what I want to use it for, either B-roll or A-roll, or put it in a montage, or whatever it is. Just make a quick note about why you like that clip. I would say the one exception to this rule is that if you filmed a talking video like this one, you're probably going to have a lot of times where it's just silence. And I wouldn't say you have to watch every second of that. Alright, tip number 2, again, before you even start editing your video, think about how you want to use music in the video. Is music going to be the driving factor that controls your edit, or is it going to be kind of more in the background? You want to decide that first, because if you are making a video where music is a really integral part, you're going to want to pick out your music track first. So for example, if you're making a video that's mainly B-roll or a promo video that you want to cut to the beat of the music, that's when you're going to want to pick out your music track before you even begin your edit. So in this case, you can start by coming over to the Music tab on the left side of the InVideo editor and browsing the library of royalty-free music. But if you're making a video where the music is more ambiance in the background, then we're actually going to do this as the final step. So in that case, the first thing you can do is just start adding your footage to the timeline and cutting it however you need it to be, and then you'll add music in later. Tip number 3 is especially relevant for videos like this one where you're talking to your camera, and that is to make sure that the visual changes every 4 to 6 seconds. That's going to give your video a good rhythm and keep it moving and exciting. If you had the same visual on screen for longer than that, your video might drag a little bit and you might lose the audience's attention. But anything quicker than that is just going to start to feel like a lot, and it might be a little bit overwhelming for the audience. For example, if you go back and watch this video from the beginning, you'll notice that we change the visual about every 4 to 6 seconds. You can do this by adding a cut. A cut is the method you're going to use most often. You can use it anytime you need to switch to a new point in your video, either a new location, or if you just need to cut the silence out of a talking video. So one method we use a lot is a jump cut, but instead of just keeping the 2 cuts exactly the same, for the second one you can zoom it in a little bit more so that the visual changes a little bit. This one's not the most exciting, but it's a good standard one to keep in your editing toolbox. Another option is to add B-roll, and you can do this whenever you have a clip that visualizes what you're talking about. You can put that clip over the clip of you talking. If you want to add B-roll on InVideo, you can either upload your own footage, or you can come to our library of free stock footage. And as you can see, you have access to a lot of really great clips. And another option would be to add a breaker slide. A breaker slide can be used to break your video down into segments. So every time you have a new segment of the video, you can introduce it using a breaker slide with text on it. You can add a blank canvas onto your timeline, then add in your text to introduce the new section of the video. You could change the color of the canvas. You could even try putting a photo behind it. There are a ton of different options, and you can even add animation to the text to make it really interesting. So those are a few options for changing your visuals. Also, if you do have a particular scene that you want to move really quickly to convey an emotion like excitement, then you can actually change your visuals quicker, sometimes as quick as 1 to 2 seconds. For example, in an action sequence like this. Tip number 4 is to use cuts and transitions sparingly and intentionally. Even the most basic transition, a standard cut, should be used in a way that you don't really notice it. If you're editing a talking video, it's best to try to put your cuts at the end of a sentence, and if possible, try to leave out cuts that are in the middle of a sentence. Here's a sentence with a few cuts right in the middle of it, and here's a sentence with no cuts in it. As you can see, using too many cuts can draw attention to the edit itself, which draws attention away from the story of the video. And when it comes to fancier transitions, you want to keep those pretty minimal as well. Transitions like light leaks give your video kind of a slideshow feel or kind of a promo video feel. So obviously that does work in certain contexts, but in general, those transitions can be pretty distracting. And then when it comes to transitions like wipes and slides, those can be good when you're transitioning into a new segment of a video. But other than that, try to leave them out. Before we move on, if you're finding value in this video, make sure you give it a like. That's going to help us continue to bring you meaningful content like this. Tip number 5 is to use text to your advantage. Again, this is especially important for talking videos like this one. You can use text to really emphasize the main points of your video. So when you're writing your script, you can go through and highlight some of the words and phrases that you think are the most important, and then later on when you're editing, those will be the ones where you put text on screen. So again, on InVideo, you can come over to the text panel, and there are a ton of different styles and fonts that you can choose from. So this is great to really draw attention to the main points that you're trying to make in the video, but again, you don't want to overdo it. And tip number 6 is to find the right music track, like we talked about before. The most important thing here is that the music you choose matches the mood of the video. So InVideo actually makes this really easy to do by organizing music tracks by mood. So if you click mood at the top of the music panel here, you get a list of all these different options. So if you want your music to be more ambient, you can click on this one that says ambiance and listen to a few of those. And there are a ton of options there, so you're bound to find something you like. And if the music track is an integral part of your video, then you want to pay attention to the structure of the song and how you want to structure your video, because you need those two to match. For example, if you want your video to start off slow and then pick up in pace, you need to find a music track that does the same thing. Here's an example of a montage video that starts off slow then picks up pace, and if you listen to the soundtrack, you can hear that it does the same thing. If you want to dive deeper into learning about picking out the perfect music track for your video, we have another super helpful tutorial on our channel that will help you do that. If you found value in this video, be sure to give it a like and let us know in the comments which one of these tips was your favorite. Also, feel free to comment if there are any other videos that you
đăng ký dùng thử miễn phí phần mềm tạo video tại trang web InVideo.design.